It's another Gardening with Gutner, and we're back in Master Gardener Tom Witwicki's backyard. We've been here a few times. Cold crop veggies in the spring, your compost pile, that famous one back in that corner. Tomatoes we did too. What are you up to these days?
Well, it's time for garden cleanup. So these are hostas, and this is how I remove them. Some people use a string trimmer, but I find a clipper works best, leaves less of a mess.
Yeah. And this will make your life a billion times better than in the spring if these are left, right?
Indeed. It's, if you leave these for the spring, it creates a real sodden mess.
Okay. Do you cut all of your herbaceous perennials?
Oh, no, I leave a lot of things, actually, and they look really nice in the winter, especially in the snow. Things like the grasses, the sedum come to mind as really examples of that.
What else do you also trim, though?
Daylilies, of course, would be another one. We can show you that. So with these, I don't use a shear. I just use my hands. I find it's much easier to do that.
It looks pretty easy.
And just rip the vegetation out and leave it like that.
All right. Now, with your tender perennials, you have to do a little more TLC, right?
Yeah, you can't leave tender perennials in the ground over the winter. They won't survive. So you have to wait for a frost, cut them back, and then dig them up. And I store them in a garage that doesn't freeze. That seems to be ideal. Some people use their basement. It all depends what kind of conditions you have.
Your veggie garden's up next. It's one of your pride and joys. Let's go check that out. What are you doing different? Anything?
Yeah, I'm doing cover crops this year on the beds, not leaving the soil bare. Well, there are different types of cover crops, Todd. There's what's called winter, fall, spring, and summer cover crops. As an example, here's an example of a summer cover crop that I planted in July.
Okay.
It's called sorghum.
Yeah.
And this has been cut back once and started to regrow. But with sorghum, it's not going to survive the winter. It'll winter kill.
Okay.
And here's an example of what it looks like before it's cut back. As you can see, it gets really tall, adds
really
a tremendous amount of carbon to the soil. And here's an example of it as cut back. And so all the detritus basically stays on the bed and acts like a mulch over the winter and protects the bed. Over here is an example of a fall cover crop. These are winter radishes basically, and fall are a crop of onions that were in these beds. So this is about maybe 2 months since I planted them.
Wow, they grew pretty fast.
They grow fast, and they improve the structure of the soil because as the roots decay, they get pretty long. It aerates the soil.
Nice.
Yes, this is winter rye. I planted this about a month ago. This will survive the winter and start growing again in the spring. But in order to plant into it, you have to terminate the cover crop.
How do you do that?
I use some black plastic, cover it for about 2 to 3 weeks, and that should effectively kill the winter rye, and then I can plant into it.
Great.
At least that's the theory.
We'll see.
We'll see. This is the first time for me. So you've mentioned my being a master gardener. I just wanted to say that I've been really happy to be associated with that program. It's really giving me an opportunity to learn more about gardening and also give back to the community through volunteering.
Well, we'll definitely check in with you on the next season of Gardening with Gutner, but this one is wrapping up. We'll occasionally see you throughout the winter. We've got a couple of tricks up our sleeves, but until then, take care.